So in the last session, we have discussed about Selenium basic locators. That is ID, name, uh, link text, partial link text, tag name, class name, right? So we have seen examples, how to identify those locators on the web page, right? So in this session, we'll discuss about CSS selector. CSS selector. So this is another locator which Selenium provided to locate the elements on the web page. So we discussed like automation is all about identifying the web elements or locating the web elements on the web page and then performing some action on those elements, right? Interacting with those elements. So CSS selector is one of the locators provided by Selenium to identify the elements on the web page, right? So what is CSS selector? What is CSS? So CSS stands for cascading style sheets. So what does it mean? So CSS mainly is used to define styles for your web pages. So HTML gives you a basic basic functionality to design the web pages, right? CSS gives you the defines the styles for your web pages, like including the design, layout, how it looks like, and variations, different variations in display. Because displaying, the same web page is not same on different devices, right? It varies because the screen size changes. Say if you wanted to display it on a mobile device, the screen will be different. On tablet, it will be different, right? On a laptop, it will be a different, total different size, right? So according to the different variations, it has to be displayed. So, and also the design, right? Layout, all this can be done using the CSS, cascading style sheets. So HTML is the basic scripting language, and CSS adds like styles to it. So styles could include different fonts, colors, right? Alignments. All this can be done using the CSS. So using these CSS locators, we can identify the web elements on the web page, right? So there are mainly 4 locators within CSS selector. How we identify the elements, right? Using these 4 CSS selectors, we can identify the elements on the web page. So what are the 4? Tag ID, tag class, tag attribute, and tag class attribute. These are the 4 types of CSS selectors available. So what do these mean? We have seen like how to find a element using tag name, right? So when there are multiple elements, when do we usually use this tag name? So when we wanted to find list of elements with a common tag, right? So that is tag, right? So here we are using a combination. We are using a combination of tag with the other locators, right? So what does that mean? Tag ID. So we'll use both tag and ID. So how do we use that? So tag, we'll find the tag and then we need to provide asterisk, sorry, this is hash ID, right? So this is how we identify the elements on the web page using tag and ID. So whatever tag you locate on the web page, so you provide the tag name and then followed by this hash and this ID. So using ID and tag, we can identify the CSS locator on the web page, right? And then class, right? So for the class, what we use? We use tag name dot class name. First, we will see an example on tag and ID. Okay. So how do we identify a web element on the web page using tag and ID? So tag followed by hash and then ID. So with this CSS selector can locate the element on the web page, right? So first, let us understand about this one, tag and ID. I'm creating a new package for today. We'll call this package as 823. You can even rename your package. You can name your package as something like, Selenium CSS Selector, like that. CSS Locators. So for this, I will take an example, automation tester. So you see this web application, right? And so it's like a dummy e-commerce application. You can see login, register, some offers, account cart, right? So all the links here, right? And all the products also. It displays some products. It looks like some similar to a e-commerce website, right? Now we are gonna use this website for CSS selectors, right? So we can see here, these are all links, I think. So these are all links. This search keywords is a text box. So let's use this. I wanted to pass some text into the search keywords. Right click, inspect. And you can see here, this got highlighted, right? So this part. So let me take this dock to the right. When I select this arrow, inspect arrow, and just hover over on the field where I wanted to provide the input for. So the corresponding part gets highlighted on the right. You can see input type equal to text, ID, filter, name, all the attributes of that web element are displayed here, right? So we are gonna use the tag and ID. So what is tag? Tag we discussed, right? So the starting one, this is called tag. And we wanted to use ID as part of the CSS selector. So this will be the ID. So we'll use the combination of input and ID to find this element search keywords here, right? So even before that, we wanted to launch the browser, right? So for that, we need a WebDriver instance. And we wanted to perform this operation on Chrome browser. So I'm taking Chrome driver. So just hover on this and do a shortcut, Control Shift O. So you'll get the statements, right? Import statements, import packages in which these classes are present. That will be imported into your program. All right. So now we do have the driver instance, WebDriver instance, which actually launches the Chrome browser. All right. Now, and yeah, I'll also show you. So let's say, for example, we wanted to navigate to this URL. What's the URL? automationteststore.com. Now we created a WebDriver instance, so which launches the Chrome browser, and we navigated to this particular URL. All right. So let's actually execute till here. So whenever I'm running, I'm using a shortcut. So it's a Alt X and then J. Okay, so it got open, right? So whenever we are opening the URL in the Chrome browser, so what's happening? It's actually opening a window, right? But it's not maximized. So when you click on this, it will get maximized, right? So how do we automate that? We wanted to maximize this window. So every time when you're opening an URL, so it's a good practice to actually maximize the window, because that's how we usually work with the windows, in the browser windows, right? So let's do that. How do we maximize the browser window. So driver dot, there's a method called manage. Manage is a method present in the WebDriver. So driver dot manage. And if you see, manage method returns a class called app options, right? So options dot manage dot. So manage is returning options. So when you say dot, all the methods related to option will be displayed. Maximize dot manage dot window. We do have this method in options class. So till this part, so it's a manage method from driver method. And this method is returning options class. And options class has a method. So this is all object of options, right? Options dot window. Window is the method in options. And then what window is returning? Window is returning a window object. So till here it's a window object. Window object dot again window class methods, right? So maximize is a method. So this is how you can maximize the browser window. So just remember this, we are going to use it after navigating to each URL from now onwards. So we can see that in action. Yeah, see, it navigates to the URL and the window got maximized automatically. So that's how you actually maximize the window. So this is the code for it. So let me explain you again. Driver.manage. Manage is a method in WebDriver which returns options class, and dot window is a method in it. So again, window method is returning window object. So here till here, when you execute, you get a window object, and window object is like a, you know, window has its own methods. So we are using a method called maximize, right? So that's how window is getting maximized. Browser window is getting maximized. All right, now let's go back. Let's go back to our example. Now we wanted to locate this search keywords, right? So this text field, and this is what it got highlighted here, right? So we are interested to use tag name and ID, and we wanted to use CSS selector for that, right? So how do we write CSS selector? Let's start working on it. Okay, first one, tag ID. This will be the tag and ID, right? Driver dot, we are going to use the same method, find element. Find element is used to find the element, right? So WebDriver dot find element. Find element is a method in WebDriver. Find element, and then we use by class, same by class. By dot we used to use ID, all the methods, right? Class, link text, like that. Same by dot. There's a method called CSS selector, which also takes string as a parameter, where we are going to provide tag and ID. Where we'll provide tag and ID, but in this format, tag followed by hash and then ID. That's the syntax of CSS selector. So what is tag here? Input is the tag. So let's have this, have the input here. Then followed by hash. Okay. And then ID. So what's the ID? Whatever it is, just click on it. Double click on it here. Copy it and have it here in your code, right? So tag, hash, and then ID. And we are using the method called CSS selector. So element got located successfully. Now what we need to do, I wanted to, as there is an input field, input text field. So I wanted to pass some text into it. So let me pass some text into it. That's it. So with this, element is located and dot. So find element is will return web element. So web element is an interface which has its own methods, and a method, one of the methods is sendKeys, which actually passes a string to the text field, right? Whatever we pass it as a parameter, that will be passed to the input text field. Right click, run as Java application. Yeah, you can see here in this search text box, search box. So it has actually inputted its value. So it has provided the value as books. So this is what we provided here, right? Now the same part can even be done. So can even be done using the same statement can also be done just skipping the tag also. So just hash indicates that there is some tag and then hash filter keyword is the ID. So even this works. Yeah, you can see the text got uh, entered into this search box, right? So what did we do here? We use same find element method and the same class by class, a different method called CSS selector, and we passed tag hash ID, right? So tag hash ID, and also we have seen tag is optional, so we just remove tag and seen. So when we say hash ID, even the this work, right? So just remember it. Next, let's see tag class. So what is tag class? How do we identify tag classes? So tag dot class name. We provide tag, then dot followed by dot, and then class name. With this, we are gonna locate the elements. So let's take all these are links. So let's take the same text field itself. So you see ID here, and we have name, we have class attribute as well, right? So let's use class attribute here. So it's a bit lengthy, but let's use it. And when you wanted to actually, find if the element you located is correct or not, what you can do in this dev tools is just do control F, right? So when you say control F here, so a find box gets opened here. Here you can put whatever locator you wanted to add it here, right? So input hash. So earlier input hash tag, right? So what was the tag hash? It was some filter, right? Filter keyword. See, when we enter this, so the corresponding element got highlighted on the dev tools as well as on the actual user interface as well, right? So on the web page. So when I do this enter here, so see that gets highlighted, meaning you identified the element right. So you didn't identify the element correct. So that's what it indicates. So this is the validation that before even putting your locator into your code, this is how you can verify. Now, how do we find the class? Find element by dot CSS selector and then class name. So what is the class name here? So class name is bit lengthy. So copy it carefully. This is the class name. But before that, we wanted to use tag name, right? Tag dot class name. So what is the tag? Tag is same input. So we are taking within the same script, right? So it will be input dot class name. But if you have this spaces, right? So you have to replace them with, you have to actually replace that blank space with a dot. Only then class will work. So for example, you can just put it here, input dot, as it's a class name. We have to use a, definitely use dot and then the class name. But if you see, when I press enter, it says 0 of 0, 0 of 0 matches, right? So what you need to do is, wherever are the spaces, just replace them with the dot. And now see, when I replace them with dot, the element got identified, and it gets highlighted in the web page even. You can see that. So input dot class name. So you can get this as is and have it copied here into your code. So till here, element got identified. Then we wanted to pass some string. So you can pass some string here. Say for example, I wanted to pass some shoes. Right, by dot CSS selector and then class name dot, sorry, tag name dot class name. Earlier tag name hash ID. So just to identify what comes after tag. So we are using this symbol, right? When we use hash, so it will identify that, WebDriver will identify that it's an ID. So when you do dot and then when you do dot after tag name, so it will identify, CSS selector will identify that it's a tag, and when we use dot, it identifies whatever is followed by dot is a class name. Right click, run as Java application, and you see this time we are using class name. Yeah, it gets banks mesh and see, okay, book shoes, because both got displayed because we didn't comment this out. Yeah, you can see this time it enters shoes, right? All right. So now the same like above. We can even perform this without the tag also. Just remove tag and then execute it. Yeah, same work, right? So this time we are using class name, tag name and class name. It worked. So this is all about it. So when you wanted to use ID, we'll use tag hash ID, and when we wanted to use class name, tag dot class name. And attribute. How do you use attribute? What is attribute? So tag attribute is equal to value. This is the syntax. So how do you use tag attribute here? So tag in the sense the same like input here in our case. If you wanted to automate the same field, so if you see it's an input, and we can actually take any of these attributes. What are attributes? We have learned this in the last session, right? So type is one attribute here. So let me get this copy outer HTML. So if you see here, type is one attribute and text is its corresponding value. ID is another attribute. Filter underscore keyword is its value and so on, right? So this complete thing will be one attribute and its value, right? So this can be used to locate the element using CSS selector along with tag. So how do we provide tag and this attribute values like this? Tag and then attribute and its value in a square braces. In a square braces, right? So let's do that now. Driver dot find element by dot attribute is a by dot CSS selector, and then we need to pass a tag. Tag is input. What's the attribute? We can use any attribute here, right? So I'm gonna use, you can see placeholder here, right? Placeholder search keywords. So I'm gonna use that placeholder equal to some value, its corresponding value, right? And if you observe any string, we place it in double quotations, right? But if the string itself has double quotes, So in our case, you can see string itself has double quotes. So we wanted to place this entire string placeholder equal to search keywords in double quotes. We wanted to place this as a string, right? So if you observe, when we wanted to place that in our code, so the entire string itself should have has to be placed in double quotes. We know that, but the string itself has double quotes. So in that case, we have to escape that double quote character which is present within the string using a backslash. Using a backslash, we can actually escape the double quotes present which in our string. So if the content of our string contains the double quotes, so then this is how we escape it. We use the backslash before the double quotes. Then it will identify that, okay, this is not the end of the string, but this is part of the string. Just to make the differentiation, we use this backslash. Backslash here is called as escape character. We are escaping this double quotes within the string. And once this is done, again, like we identified the element. We just need to pass some string here. Yeah, you can see it enters the text whatever we pass to the CSS selector, right? So what did we use here? We use tag and attribute. We use the combination of tag and attribute. So this is the syntax of it, tag and then followed by attribute. Attribute is when we say attribute, both attribute and value, right? So attribute and its corresponding value, both has to be provided. And that has to be provided in a square braces. And again, tag name is optional here. Yeah, this worked, right? So this is how we can identify the CSS selectors using tag and attribute. Now, going back to tag, class, and attribute. So it's a combination of class and attribute. It's a combination of class and attribute. So how do we identify tag, class, tag dot, class name, right? And how do we identify attribute? We provide the attribute in square braces, right? So this is the combination of class name and attribute. So this is how we can provide it. Let's go back. So we can see class, we can see some, we can choose some other placeholder here. Say for example, tag input, and then this is the class. And maybe we can choose data toggle equal to drop down here. Or we can even choose the same placeholder as well. We can verify that which works. Yeah, this is working, right? Data toggle equal to drop down is working and it is highlighting the search field on the web page, right? And you can even see one of one got matched. So when you are doing this, so it has to match exactly that element, one of one, right? So take this driver dot find element by dot CSS selector and then provide it. So you have to know here carefully. This is tag name dot followed by class name. Class name, if it has blank spaces, we are just replacing it with dot and then followed by a attribute. Again, the attribute value has value in double quote, so we are escaping that value with a backslash. So that's how we escape the double quotes within the string. Okay, I think we didn't pass any value to it, right? So let's pass some value to it. Then kiss, and then I'll pass something called books. Books. Okay, I think we didn't comment this out. Yeah, it worked, right? So why do you wanted to use both class and attribute, right? So say for example, in some cases, there could be situations where, class name could be common. We have seen even in the last session, right? So there could be a common class name across the element. So in that case, we need to use a specific attribute. We also need to use the attribute to uniquely identify the element. So if you wanted to interact with, yeah, one of the elements, right? So say for example, I do have some form, and let's say for example, I have some username field. This is username field, and this is my password field. Say for example, this is username and this is password field, right? And this might be developed, and let's say for example, the code of it is something like this. The code of username might be some, it's an input, and then let's say for example, input type equal to some text, and it has, some class. Some class has some ABC, and then it might have some name equal to XYZ, right? So say for example, it's the same. It's the same for password as well. So if it has class and also name, then it has both class names are same. Name is also same. Then how do we identify it uniquely? When you use class, so it will be matching both the elements, but we wanted to uniquely identify the element. So in that case, we can use some other, you know, so input type will be password here. This will be password and it will be password. So you can use even this. Type equal to password is what we can use as an attribute. But if you use class, it will actually match both the elements. So in that case, we can use both class name as well as class name, which matches two elements. And then just to identify it uniquely, right, we can use type equal to password. Then this will be located. Password field will be located uniquely. So, so we should be using the combination of class and attributes. So it is simple. Like say for example, you know, it's all about like identifying an element uniquely. That's the reason we are using this combination of locators, right? So we wanted a unique combination. So let me give you an example. Say for example, if you wanna meet a person, or if you wanna find the identity of a person, right? So say for example, I say only first name of a person. So can you identify with that who the person is? No, right? So how do you identify? So maybe you will ask for the last name as well. So say for example, I do provide you the last name as well of the person. Can you identify the person uniquely? No, right? So there could be multiple persons with the same first name and last name. But after providing the last name, your result set might be reduced. But still there could be multiple persons matching with the same having same first name and last name, right? Then say for example, I provide you the country. So country, then the filter will be reduced, right? And but it will still match with multiple persons, right? Then I provide you the state in which the person is present. Then or filter. So that filters most of the part, and state, and also say for example, I provide you the city. So still there could be a chance that within a same city, there could be multiple persons with same first name and last name, right? Then say, for example, I might provide, after, say, for example, I provide the street. Then there are lesser chances that there could be multiple persons with same first name and last name, right? And also, just say, for example, I provide SSN, just skipping all this, or just providing country, I provide the SSN. SSN is unique, right? So just with this first name, last name, and SSN, or only with SSN also, you can identify a person uniquely, right? Say, for example, I provide first name, last name, just to make sure the person is identified uniquely. I provide first name, last name, and SSN. Then a person will be identified uniquely, right? So in the same way, this is just an example. So in the same way, in order to identify the elements, right? So you need the unique identifier, unique locator, right? So for that reason, we actually use the combination of, like, in some case, both can be same, right? So in that case, we have to show that uniqueness to identify the elements. So this is the reason we do use like class and attribute in this case. Is that clear? Did you get it? What CSS selector is and how we can identify the elements? All right. So now this is all about CSS selector and its corresponding tags, right? Now let me show you how do we identify the elements simply. Like we are writing this CSS selector and we are locating this element, right? So there is a simple way we can do this. So how do we do that? Let me show you. Okay, 1 second. So let's say, for example, I have same website, automation test practice, test tool, right? So I wanted to identify, I'm just taking for simplicity, same example. So you can see automation test tool, right? So right click on the search keywords, whatever field you wanted to identify, locate on the web page, right? So just right click on it and do inspect. So this is how we usually do, right? And you can see this is what we call it as dev tools, right? And so this is what we call it as actually DOM, console, sources, all this. DOM is document object model. So we'll discuss that in detail in the next session. But this is what we call it as DOM, and all the related you can see styles, right? So the style, different styles, computer layout, listeners, DOM breakpoints, right? So all this. So this is what we call it as dev tools, right? And now, how do we identify the elements? So when we hover on this input field, something gets highlighted. The related script of that field gets highlighted here. And from that, what we do, we usually uh, get the ID, name, or some just to uniquely identify the element, we get the attributes of those element. And then we are writing the CSS selector or any locator. We are writing the element, we are locating the element, right? So this is what we did. Now, and to validate it, we found a way, like we do Control F and we can write the path, or the locator, whatever we are identifying and thinking that that would match the element, then we are providing it here and verify if it actually matches the element which we are trying to locate, right? Then that is fine. We do have a simplest way as well. So let me show you that. There is something called an extension called SelectorsHub. So with this, we can easily get the, let me remove it and show you. So once you type in SelectorsHub, so you have to choose it from like this, SelectorsHub extension, and you have to choose it from Chrome Web Store, right? So click on that and you'll see this extension and you'll see this button called Add to Chrome. Just add this to your Chrome, say Add Extension. And now, yeah, just once it is added, right? So yeah, it is added. And you can see that in the extensions. You can pin it even. If you say pin, it will be displayed here, right? Now, I wanted to use this selector sub. What is this selector sub? So if you just click on it, so it will get open just beside your dev tools, right? Now see, just hover on this field and you get something called, so this using this selector sub, right? So or just close this, identify it with this, and if you can go to this part, right? Dev tools part, styles computed, event results, DOM, breakpoint, properties, and you see a arrow here, right arrow. Just click on that, more tabs, and you see a selector sub option here. Just select that. Now, if you observe, we just inspected this element, right? Just highlighted this element, and you can see here, the ones, the corresponding locators. So you can see relative XPath. So you can see, uh, you know, all the others, ID, it identified ID. So you can use this ID, just copy it from here. So you even have the option to copy here. Just click on this ID gets copied onto your clipboard. Then just use this ID into your code. That's all. So name by ID, right? Like class name. So if you remember, this is the class name we use, right? So it has XPath. XPath we'll discuss in the next session, coming session, we'll discuss. So XPath, everything, tag name also. Tag name was input. So and you can even see the count it matches with. So everything till now was one match, right? But tag name, it's a, it's matching with 6, meaning like it is matching with 6 elements. So if you remember, we discussed in the last session, tag name, even got the count, right? So there are like 6 fields here which have the tag called input, right? So that information is also provided. And you can see here related to CSS selector as well. So we just now discussed, right? Hash and then followed by some string, right? So can you say what CSS selector it is? So it is of ID. So for ID we use hash, right? Tag name hash ID, and tag is optional. So they provided as CSS selector this one. So you can just copy it and use it in your code. So this is very easy. So in most of the time we'll be using selector sub in the coming sessions when we wanted to identify the elements, right? And yeah, you can see you just need to hover on any of the icons here, right? So any of the links, any of the element, you just hover on that. So you get the corresponding locators here in the selector sub. See, link text. I just clicked on makeup. So you see link text, and p-link text is partial link text. And when you identified with make, so you'll have two combinations, two matches. And see, this is CSS selector. So what was used here? So if you see tag name and something in the square braces, that is tag and attribute combination has been used here for CSS selector. And if you wanted to use this, just click on this copy and you can get it onto your code by.css selector, and then you can just copy it, the whole string there. You can copy it even here and then click on. So this is within the CSS selector. This is like Control F, right? So you can put it here and do and just hit enter, right? So you can see one element matching here, right? And also the element got highlighted here, makeup, right? So which says that this locator, whatever you copied onto your clipboard, actually can be used to identify this element or link, right? Called makeup, and you can see one element matching. Say for example, I take this partial link and copy it here. So it will say it doesn't match with anything because you need to write the partial link, right? So you can only provide the XPath and CSS selector here. So it says write and verify only XPath and CSS selector here. You can't actually provide the partial link. So we did CSS selector, right? And XPath also we can give, and XPath we'll discuss in the next session. So whatever it is providing, selector hub, we can use it as is. In case if you wanted to identify it, we can just, in case we wanted to verify it before using it in our code, we can do that by just entering it into this box, this white box, and then just hit enter. It will say the how many matches it has. Any question? Is that clear? Is that clear? Did you get how do we identify the elements using an extension, Chrome extension called SelectorsHub? Okay, I take it as yes, and I think this is all about CSS selector, and we can start XPath, but it will be like we don't have time, so it takes a lot of time. It takes one lengthy session, more than a lengthy session. So we will have it in the discuss in the next session. So if you have any questions related to today's topic, you can put it on the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and ask. Let me provide you an assignment. So just try to identify the CSS selectors by visiting this URL. So you can see here, right? So this is a URL, and you can choose one. You can choose. There are like multiple elements in it, right? This is another dummy e-commerce one. So you can just identify these elements using CSS locator. So that will be the assignment for today. You can visit. There are like more lot of demo websites to practice Selenium, right? So you can use any of these websites. These are only meant for practice. These are not even the working original URLs or websites. I'm showing you. Okay, let me show you here. you even get selector sub option here when you right click on it, right? You can even choose it from here. But when you choose it here, you'll not get the actual value. You won't be seeing that. So it's always better you inspect the element, right? You inspect the element and then go to this last tab, selector sub, and then you can see the options like whatever it is identified with the different locators. You can see it here, and it's always a good practice to have it here and then hit enter and then see if it really matches, and if it matches with only one element, and only then take it to your code. So like this, you can actually practice by taking any other website even. So in this session, we have discussed about like what CSS selector is, and CSS selector is used to define style for your web pages, and what are all the CSS selectors available. So we have tag ID, which we can identify using tag hash ID, and tag is optional here in all the cases. Tag class, so we identify it with dot, and attribute we put it in a square braces, and we use a class and attribute combination as well, right? So class name we identified with dot, and the attribute value we put it in the square braces. Right, so this is what we discussed, and we have seen selector sub as well. Selector sub. Then extension. So identify the element, or you can just say to locate the elements. This is selector sub extension, right? And I think we have also seen one new thing here. This actually maximizes the browser window. So this is all about it. So whenever we are discussing this Selenium locators, right? So you can practice the same, or better you take a different demo website. So there are multiple, several demo websites available on the internet. So to practice Selenium, so you can take one of them and practice while doing the practice, instead of having the same website, just practice it on the different demo website, and try to locate the elements, and try to perform some actions on those elements, whichever we discussed in the session. So any questions regarding the today's topic? If you don't have any questions, then we can wrap up the session. We'll yeah, so if you have any questions, you can put it on the chat. I'm stopping here.